Well, good morning. A little bit more comfortable morning than we've had over the last couple. The remnants of what was Tropical Storm Cristobal are actually all the way up to Hudson Bay in Ontario and away from Michigan, and looking at a really straightforward forecast after a very complex couple days here weather-wise. One thing about yesterday, and actually in western parts of the state, we actually had some severe weather reported here overnight Tuesday, but the large event was yesterday afternoon, as most people realize. This is a map depicting storm reports to the National Weather Service here, most of which in Michigan and actually to our south and east, and you can see in areas of Ohio. Most of that was yesterday afternoon and early evening. Fortunately, no tornadoes reported with this, quite interesting. But the vast majority of these storm reports were high winds and damage from high winds. A few, though, there were some reports of large hail. I saw in Michigan, about the largest I saw were reports of 1-inch hail. But that was more the exception than the rule. And again, most of the damage and most of the impact we saw from yesterday's violent weather was high wind. In the last week here, looking back prior to the rain, and we unfortunately, with our precipitation total on the right, it does not reflect the totals yesterday, which were very important in our weekly total. But prior to yesterday, and for western parts of the state, actually moving back to Tuesday, much of the state was actually drier than normal, including the southeastern third or half of the state, especially that southeastern corner. That area has been repeatedly missed over and over here over the last several weeks. And if there's any area of the state that, well, is different, it would be that region. Topsoils definitely have dried out considerably, and there was some relief in many of the areas in southeastern lower, but I noticed here this morning that there's still some reports that were missed once again. So that's an area to keep your eyes on. Everywhere else, especially the western lower and up and now into to upper Michigan, there's been lots of rainfall here over the last week. Besides the precipitation, it was also a warmer than normal week. On the left here, you can see mean temperatures for the week range from generally about 2 degrees above normal in far northern sections to as much as 8 degrees above normal in the south. That was the third consecutive warmer than normal week, and not just warmer than normal, but much warmer than normal. And when we look at our degree day accumulations, a huge change from the beginning. And remember, we had a very late start, cold weather into the middle of May. And we started the growing season with massive deficits of growing degree days. Now we've not only caught up, but we've gone ahead. This particular graphic here is looking at seasonal totals as of the 1st of May. And you can see that much of the state, especially across the lower peninsula, has now moved to 20 or 30 units ahead of normal. So that's a big change we've had in just a couple of weeks. There still are areas in the northern part of the state, the UP, the far northern lower, that are a few about the same 10 or 20 units behind, but it's a huge change, a huge flip-flop from where we were just a couple of weeks ago. On our weather map this morning here, the frontal boundary that went through yesterday and led to all the severe weather is well off to our east. You can see off towards the mid-Atlantic, and Michigan is in between two frontal systems, that one, and then there's another cool front here off to our north coming out of Canada. That will move across the state over the next 12 to 18 hours. And it's really a reinforcing shot of colder air, significantly colder air. We will see a few lingering showers, primarily today, or the threat. I would call them isolated, probably at best, and then probably only in northern parts of the state, not talking about anything more than a couple hundredths of an inch, if at all. Most areas will remain dry. It will also, notice all of the black lines here, the isobars, lots of pressure gradient. It will be another very windy day, except instead of having southeasterly or southerly winds like we've had over the last couple of days, they'll be out of the west and northwest as the day goes on. But look for 20 to 30 mile per hour winds and with even some higher gusts. So once again, if spray operations are going to be a real challenge here, at least for the short-term future. By tomorrow morning, the second front, you can see it moving through the state. That will lead to at least, again, a few more isolated showers. There's no moisture for this front to work with. Most areas will remain dry. We'll see winds shift around a little bit more to the northwest by tomorrow, but leading to certainly a cooler pattern. We're going to see temperatures drop off several degrees each day today and tomorrow, back to below normal levels here for the upcoming weekend. And here for Saturday morning, you can see Again, this is the center of the air mass out of Canada, just to our north. Friday and Saturday will probably be will certainly be the coldest days of the week. You would probably take your pick of which one might be the coldest day of the week, but it's going to be unseasonably cool. We'll see temperatures today from the only upper 50s in the far northern parts of the state to the 70s in the south. And then tonight and tomorrow we'll see even drop further than that. Tomorrow 50s, 60s statewide for high temperatures, and then lows probably going to see some upper 30s here both tomorrow morning and also on Saturday morning as well. Maybe even a little bit of isolated frost in the far northern parts of the state. But again, big change from where we were with that tropical air mass early in the week. And look for dry conditions to basically stay after tomorrow through the weekend into early next week. No signs of anything significant in terms of precipitation for much of the upcoming week. Our totals here from our forecast totals for through next Thursday morning, you can see generally less than a quarter, many areas less than a tenth of an inch. So a very unusually and abnormally dry week is what we're looking at. So the areas that were missed by the rainfall yesterday, especially those in that southeast corner, and have to deal with an extended period once again without much more in way of any rain. Probably the end of next week before we see anything significant. The other note, as we look next week temperature-wise, important to note, even though it is going to be abnormally cool for the next several days, there will be a significant warming trend beginning once again on Monday and continuing for the rest of the week. So we will see our high temperatures bounce back from where they are over the weekend to the 70s on Monday and probably back to the 80s in many areas for the remainder of the week. We might even be up at 90 once again here by Wednesday or Thursday of next week. So even though we are again looking for a respite with cool conditions, the warm weather, and actually we'll call it almost hot weather, returns for next week without much in the way of precipitation. The medium range forecast guidance is fairly consistent. Both the 6 to 10 day and 8 to 14 day outlooks are forecasting above normal mean temperatures. That's up here in the upper right. There's a little bit of a difference. The 6 to 10 day calls for below normal or drier than normal conditions for the 16th through the 20th. The 8 to 14 day time frame, the forecast suggests that precip will increase back up to at least normal, if not even a little bit above normal. So we'll see a little bit less confidence. And I think probably the take home here, though, is warmer than normal weather is a good bet into the third week, even in the early fourth week of June. So summarizing here, big changes and much windy, cooler, mostly dry in most areas here. Temperatures, again, a full 10 to 15 degrees cooler than where they were 24 hours ago, and then even cooler than that on Friday. Besides a couple of isolated showers, we're looking at an extended dry period for much of the rest of the week. Cool, dry this weekend, and then next week, warming trend starts in earnest by Monday or Tuesday, and back up to warmer than normal by the middle of the week. And as you just saw with the medium range, there's also suggestion that drier than normal pattern may continue for another week as well. So I'll wrap up with that, and just a reminder for next week, Daniel Bublitz will be our speaker and be talking about Cercospora in sugar beet. That's next Thursday, the 18th. And with that, I'll wrap up here.